What's up, guys? John Stargarian here, and I'm going to talk briefly about my play on Juan Adams against Justin Tafa. So if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe. So I'm playing Juan Adams for 5 units at minus 200, and that's a max play for me. He's currently going in around minus 230, minus 240, but I still think there's a lot of value there if you want to get money in on this fight. And, I've seen the argument that, you can't really play Adams with this kind of juice because he's not good and it's heavyweight and it's unreliable. And while I get it, I just have to disagree. I have to play where I think the value is, and I think Adams is probably the biggest value spot on this card. I personally view Adams as, minus 500 to minus 600 in this fight. So minus 200 is just an absolute gift. And, the reason I think that is, I came into this without a very high opinion of Adams. He can do some things well, like throwing volume and wrestle. But his fight IQ is not great, and his gas tank isn't great, which are always huge concerns. And I'd never seen Tafa fight before, outside of his performance at UFC 242, and that didn't last long enough for me to take anything from it. And then I really only needed to see one fight, but I watched them all of Tafa to know where my mind was at with this fight. Basically, Tafa is just not a UFC caliber opponent. And when I say that, I mean, like, I'm not even sure he's good enough to get consistent wins at good regional scenes. So, like, I mentioned this about Chase Hooper before UFC 244, that he wasn't UFC caliber, but that he did have, at least seemed to have plus jiu-jitsu. I don't think Tafa has a single plus skill. I'm not even sure he's a single average skill, to be honest. So the best thing anybody can say about Tafa is that he's Mark Hunt's protege and he trains with him and Tai Tuivasa. And that's literally the best thing you can say about him. In the grappling, he is a disaster. He's maybe the worst grappler I've ever seen. In his first fight, I think it was his first pro fight, he attempted 3 takedowns and ended up being mounted off of all 3 attempts. That is insane. And once he was on the ground, he had no idea what to do. Didn't know how to grab an underhook, basically accepted to be flat on his back. And then in the second fight, the same thing happened. He was basically flat on his back, mounted immediately, and didn't get up and was lucky to survive the round. So, and Adams here, Adams was a D1 wrestler. I know he might not be the best MMA grappler. He'll certainly be able, I think, to find takedowns. So that's the first thing. He can't grapple and Adams can wrestle. The second thing is he's got a horrible gas tank. He's basically, in every fight I've seen that's gone past the first round with him, has been completely gassed out by, 5 minutes in. And while Adams, on the other side of the coin, doesn't have a great gas tank either, we've seen Adams at least push through it and throw in volume in the second and third round, whereas, Tafa basically falls off a cliff. And then the other part of it is he's just not a good striker either. That's supposed to be his bread and butter. His brother's a professional kickboxer, but he's just not very good at it. All he really does is wing wild hooks. And while he does have all 3 of his professional victories by knockout, I actually question how much power he really has. Because, these are all 3 guys he fought I think they were all 5 fights or less. And for one of them was a debutant. And all of these guys are super low-level regional fighters. So, the fact that he knocked them out at heavyweight isn't overly shocking. But he doesn't seem to have good footwork or get much leverage behind his punches. So I don't think, maybe he has good power. That's one thing it's hard to know. But I suspect he doesn't, especially because, while he is a heavyweight, he's really built with the dimensions of a middleweight. He's only 6 feet. He's got like a 74-inch reach. And he's just kind of an overweight middleweight. And so basically, he just doesn't have a single good skill. Well, on the other side of the coin, like I said, Adams, he's got, some issues. He's got poor fight IQ. But Adams throws an extraordinarily high volume. He averages over 7 significant strikes landed per minute. He also is a pretty solid wrestler. Now, he's an elite wrestler. He's not like a Curtis Blades, no. But he's a solid wrestler, and he has a good, he level changes pretty well. And, we've seen him take basically all of his opponents except Bueller down. And he didn't really try to take Bueller down because Bueller, I believe, was an Olympic wrestler. And, that by itself, Adams when he fought in LFA, basically was able to get each of his opponents down pretty much with ease, mount them, and finish them. Did the same thing in his Contender Series fight. Did the same thing briefly with Chris De La Roca. All 4 of those guys, I'd say, De La Roca, the opponent he faced in Contenders, and the 2 on LFA are all likely better than Justin Tafa. And he was able to get all of them down with ease. Even the Hardy fight, he level changed fairly well. It's like Hardy stuffed it, and he was finished there just because poor fight IQ, because he held on to the single leg and ate 30 hammer fists to the side of the head. But either way, I do think, Adams, given how poor Tafa is at grappling, Adams should be able to get this down whenever he wants. But let's say, hypothetically, he doesn't do that. His IQ is bad enough that he takes the path of most resistance and decides to strike here. If he decides to strike, I still strongly favor him. He doesn't have much power because his footwork's not great, and he throws, he doesn't really sit down on his punches much. But he's a lot bigger. He's 6'5". He has an 80-inch reach. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage. And he's going to put out volume. And as I said, while his gas tank may go, he'll still throw. And so so I just think in a stand-up fight, he'll either finish Tafa standing or, he'll just easily out-volume him over 15 minutes. And the other thing is, and this is a bad tendency of Tafa's as well, Tafa's not a wrestler. He's from a camp where nobody can wrestle. Yet, for whatever reason, whenever he gets touched, he's not comfortable being hit. And when he does get hit, he shoots. And if he shoots on Adams, he is going to get rolled over, put on his back, and finished here. I am extremely confident in that. I'd actually say if the fight hits the mat, there is a greater than 50% chance it gets finished the first time it hits the mat, as long as there's time left on the clock. Maybe even like 60 to 70% chance. I think the grappling is going to be that one-sided here. So basically the way I view this is Adams has, what could be, if Adams decides to come out and wrestle here, he has a crystal clear path to victory that he should be able to do with ease. And then, like I said, so like if he decides to wrestle, which I think he will, he doesn't want to get cut, he's lost 2 fights in a row, I'd put him at like a minus 800, minus 900 dog favorite. But you can't obviously just assume he's going to decide to wrestle. But even if it was a straight kickboxing match, I think I'd still cap Adams like minus 250 or so, maybe even a little higher than that. And so ultimately, that's the thing. I have Adams around minus 500, and I really think Tafa's only path to victory is a quick knockout before the fight ends up in a clinch or a takedown shot. And like I said, I don't think Tafa has the best power in the world. And on the other side of the coin, I actually think Adams is pretty durable. He is hittable. We've seen him hit a lot. But the only time he was finished was against Hardy, and that's not because he ate some big shot that dropped him because of a poor chin. He held on to that single leg, like I mentioned, and he ate 36 shots to the side of the head. Now, that's going to finish anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. And so I actually think Adams is fairly durable. I've seen him hit a lot and walk right through it. And so even if Tafa has better power than they give him credit for, the difference in reach and athleticism, I think, is just likely to be too much. So, look, he could knock him out. That is his path to victory. Tafa's only path is a quick knockout. But, that's it. And I don't peg that. I can't peg that at higher than 15%. That's all there really is to it. Tafa is going to be outclassed anywhere this fight goes. He's going to be outclassed in cardio. He's going to be outclassed in volume. He's going to be outclassed in technique, in grappling. His only chance is to find a meme KO, very early in the fight. And like I said, the moment this fight gets clinched up, whether it's in a clinch on the fence or someone shooting a takedown, I think it's going to be it for Tafa. So, that's the way I view it. I think Adams should be minus 500 to minus 600. I'm putting 5 units on him. It's a max play. And my prediction here is going to be Adams by first round TKO. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Please drop a like. And, let's do this. Let's go, Juan Adams. Thanks. Bye.